This experience happened 20 years ago. Although it has been a long time, I feel like it happened yesterday. This experience is something I will never forget. It was in 1992. I was a college student. My friend from another city came to see me. We had not seen each other for 3 years. We were all very happy. We finished eating out. I was going to take my friend to the Truckee River for rafting. After we drove there, we rented a raft. The water in the river rose high and fast. Friends are a little worried and say, "Will this be dangerous?" As a confident swimmer, having drifted down the same river a few times, I was filled with that invincible confidence and, most importantly, I forgot to put on my life jacket. We showed my friends the joys that a small-town kid often enjoys. As we went downstream, the speed started to pick up. There is a pedestrian bridge in the middle of the river. We noticed an old man gesturing frantically to us. We couldn't hear him because the river was so loud, but we could see his gestures, telling us to go to the right. We couldn't hear what he was shouting, but he was clearly excited. We thought he must be in trouble and needed our help, so we tried to move the raft to the right bank. Going upstream, we did our best to swim towards the shore. The water was so fast that after one turn, our raft was no longer in control and we were thrown into the icy water. As I continued to swim towards the shore, I went straight into a whirlpool. The whirlpool pulled me under the water, and I couldn't tell the direction. I was swimming desperately trying to get out, and I started to panic and feel extremely cold. A voice or thought popped into my head as if to say, "Let go. Let it go. Let's go." I stopped swimming immediately. It felt like a release, surrendering to something greater than me. There was a deep trust in it, a feeling inside that everything went black. My life started to unfold before the eyes, like a movie composed of vignettes, both snapshots, like still photos, and video clips, like fast movie clips in TV commercials. No sound accompanies them. They follow from birth the chronological development to where I am now. I still remember a few of those flashes. I was stung by a bee for the first time when I was a toddler when I thought it was a fly on the front porch curtain, and I beat bees with my hands, throwing tantrums in the dining room floor when my mom wanted to go to the grocery store, getting an electric shaver from my dad for a 16th birthday. It feels like the picture is flashing, similar to what I imagined virtual reality glasses to feel like. This flash in front of the eyes experience is quick. I guess it's only a matter of seconds. I later asked my mother about my early memories, which were not part of my current memory. I did hit a bee when I was about 4 years old and had my mom's old foot pedal sewing machine in our dining room, when I first started school. I lost my temper. Some other memories, she doesn't remember. Then it was pitch black. I looked at the sides and it got darker. I thought my eyes were closed, so I consciously checked to make sure they were open. The voice in my head said, "Turn around," and when I turned around, I saw light. I remember thinking, I'm in a cave, and then this calm and the clinging thought pushed me towards the light. It reassured me and I was no longer afraid. It was smooth, slow, calm, without a sound, like floating. I don't remember doing any movement. I was just in the dark walking through. Looking around, I see people occasionally. I saw an older man walking with a donkey. I saw my grandpa, my dad's father. He's been dead for several years. I saw other people walking in both directions. Some people were walking slowly, some people were walking quickly. The closer I got to the opening, the brighter the light at the opening. It was incredibly bright, unlike the light of day. There is usually one hue, and this particular light is pure white. As soon as I step into the light, I am immediately surrounded by a feeling of ultimate peace. I am surrounded by pure love and acceptance at home. I with this peace and love are completely connected. I had this feeling recently when my baby was born. I had an idea. It asked me why it came so soon. It was amazed by my presence. I am not sure. I lost direction, thinking, where am I? Where is this place? The thought in my head felt uneasy, as if it was reading my mind, began to convince me that I was okay, that I was in a safe place, and led me to what I first felt, a feeling of peace and love. I was relieved, but I was curious and confused. Can you really read my mind? The thought seemed to realize that I needed a more concrete way to communicate in order to feel completely comfortable. So this thought popped into my head: what form or shape would you be most comfortable with? What do you mean? Some people asked me to be a smart old man, some people asked me to be a woman, and some people asked me to be an animal, all different races, ages, sizes, or species. How about you? I don't hesitate to call it human. So the light begins to simultaneously split into amazingly colored rays and intensifies into more solid forms. When the light got to what looked like a human, a fairly ordinary cookie cutter shape, like a gingerbread man, I thought, enough. I'll fit into the shape. The shape can move, it's three-dimensional. Many years later, when I first saw iridescent materials, I saw this color again. In front of it, the sense of security, love and peace is stronger. We communicate through the spirit. It wants to know what kind of voice I need, man, woman, child, etc. I chose a man. I can't remember what language we communicated in, and I would like to know what this form of light is called. It started telling me many names for God in world cultures. Even at the time, I wasn't sure if I believed in God. Whatever real light is, I admit it is a pure form of energy. I've never called it God, but I also realize that a lot of people I know call it that. We started to communicate. Where am I? Home, a familiar place I have been to many times. Wondering what I'm doing here. I also want to know. I was told that I was too early. I still have work to do. What job? I will figure it out. I have to go back. I really want to stay. I'm really sad. I understand it's my responsibility, and if I don't have the ability, I won't be asked to do it. I realized I had to go back, but I was terrified. The lights provided my escort and guided me back safely. I was still reluctant to leave, but I was comforted by the comfort of my guide. After work, I continued to relive this rafting experience in my dreams. In my dreams, my guide appeared in my dreams, just like my grandfather, my mother's father, who was a year before the rafting passed away. Before I was ready to go, I spent some time basking in the ubiquitous light of love, peace, and purity. I quickly returned to the dark cave. It seems to be faster than the speed of light. I don't remember seeing anyone when I traveled in the dark. The next second, I was back in my body, and I jumped out of the darkness to the surface of the swirling river, where for the first time I could breathe air instead of water. Everything that happened to me can only happen in a minute or two. I was released from the whirlpool and the current quickly carried me into a series of rapids. I am ready to fight for my survival. I realized that unless I turned around so my legs were pointing downstream, I would definitely be banging my head against a large rock and becoming an outlaw. I started navigating with my legs in front of me. The information I've relied on, the TV or radio shows I've heard of, was to advertise motorcycle helmets. It mentions that you can lose your legs in life but not your brain. The idea of an emergency is interesting. Now I'm floating like a log in the rapids, but I still can't use my arms effectively to save myself. I decided I had to roll over and lie on my stomach. I figured I could grab something with my hands, or get close to the river, although it would be harder to hold my head up for air. I floated like that for a while. I would butterfly my head out of the rapids, take a breath, and try to grab a rock. After countless attempts, the technique finally worked. I caught a small rock, small enough to roll up my arms and shallow enough to lift my head high enough not to be engulfed by the rapids. I rested there for a while and my legs and body were too tired to stand up. The water I inhale makes my lungs hurt. The river is deep in some places and shallow in some places. I finally got up and struggled awkwardly to one side. I was thrown on the right bank and the river was actually flooded. I hold on to the little trees and shrubs, which are covered with water. Not only is the river high, but it has actually flooded. That's when I thought of my friend. Is he still alive? Where might he be? At that moment, when I was safe enough to start thinking about other people, the earth took on a whole new color scheme. The sky, the trees, the leaves, the river all shone with light that I saw when I was trapped in the whirlpool. Green is greener, blue is bluer, and brown is more yellow. Everything seemed alive, even objects like rocks, water, and sky. They are all full of energy. This feeling lasted for weeks, but it was never as strong as that moment. I went upstream with the help of small trees and shrubs. I clung to their trunks and branches, struggling to fight the current rushing past my feet. I searched the shoreline and bushes for evidence that my friend was nearby. I pray that I don't find any bodies. The sound of the rapids grew louder. I finally saw the footbridge. On the right, where the old man was trying so hard for us to avoid, my friend pulled the raft. As soon as he saw me, he jumped up and down, hugged each other, and screamed. Behind him is a small dam or spillway. If our raft had naturally drifted in that direction, it would have fallen 3 feet into a relatively calm pool. It appears that the old man is there to keep us from falling and to follow the gentler, more natural course of the river. The bottom of the raft was torn off. After a few hugs, we sat on the raft, rocked our feet, and started to float. To retrieve our belongings, we fished out our shoes, life jackets, and oars. Everything explains why, except for a few little things that I can't remember. The most surprising thing is my glasses. In the whirlpool, my hand still holds the paddle. I decided to let go of the paddle and go for a swim. I had my glasses on my head, but I was like, oh no. My mom would be pissed if I lost my glasses. So, throughout the experience, I took it off and held on tight. I can't even imagine what the owner of the raft company was thinking when he picked us up at the designated location. But at least my mom never yelled at me. I don't know if it was a real near-death experience. Didn't actually die, but someone saved me. but I think it's at least similar to a near-death experience. I kept calling this, I fell into the river and hypothermia was taking a toll on my brain, until I started reading about near-death experiences. It turns out that there are so many people with near-death experiences, but everyone feels different and sees different God and heaven. I think everyone has their own God and heaven,